But if we leave a lot of grit in there, it will be the end of the world. Alright, so I got the edge of that board up, that sheet I should say, and it told me everything I needed to know. So, looking down here, we can see these boards line up actually not too bad. It does happen over time. The older board will shrink, and if you put a new board to it, it's usually a bit wider. That's normal, that's fine. But over here, this is weird. We got the original boards, and then the new board, it's very hard to see, is a 1/4 inch lower. And because there's a seam here that starts half on, it made it extra obvious. So where this board is, you know, pretty normal, it's a little bit fatter, so it's rising up maybe a 1/16, heavy 1/16, not too much. This one is dropping down substantially. So I would say it's very likely whoever framed this didn't check their boards. It could be that there was a waned edge. You know, maybe it was just milled badly. There's a number of reasons that might happen, but either way, that piece is shrunk, and this piece is a normal width, so that's not right. So fortunately, this is a very easy fix. Now, I'm going to do my best. So you can see in here, we got 2 nails here, and there's a little toenail down there. So it'll be a little bit of a struggle removing those. But all I have to do is remove those, and then I can get a jack underneath that one floor joist. I'll jack it up to where it belongs, I'll shim it in place and nail it back, and that should fix just about everything, because all the rest of these joists are well within reason. And you know, I didn't really do it, but I might as well just prove my theory, because I didn't run my straight edge the other direction. I really should have. Let's... Oh, you see? We got a gap there. So this one dips down because it's on the piece that's lower. This one is on the piece that's way high. And this one was rising up, but only along this plane here, not along that plane, because it's only this floor joist here that's down. So this floor joist was holding it down in the center right here, and it was still rising up there. So the really horrible thing about the whole situation is that whoever installed this floor knew that when they installed it. They had every opportunity to fix it before nailing that sheet down. Because, I mean, it's risen up about 1/2 inch. That's a lot that anybody would notice. So, you know, it's just evidence right there. Whoever did this floor did a horrible, horrible job. But so far as I can tell, that's the only fix that's going to be necessary that's, let's say, invasive. Everything else is going to be very kind of topical, you know, we're just adding on to make it work. So let's get that done. We're hopping into the basement anyway. We're going to add a little bit of structure to the subfloor to keep the seams together, and then we're ready to pop on our underlay. Alright, so we're down here in the basement. We've got a nail puller, a hammer, shims, a jack, a little ladder, and a problem to fix. We'll make short work of this one. So the first step, of course, is going to be to pull these nails. This is probably going to be the hardest part of the entire job. It's a relatively tight space, so might be a little bit of struggling, but nothing too bad. Alright, so according to the camera, my fix took a total of, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 6 minutes. So we are now perfectly flush with that other piece. And just a little note on shims. So most of the time the natural inclination is just to wedge a shim in, but you always kind of want one going backwards the other direction. And the reason being is when you put them opposite of each other just like this, it makes a square. And as you push them against each other, it increases that square. So if you want a flat surface, you definitely want two shims in place, working against each other. Otherwise, what happens is it's just connected on the very edge and it'll eventually crush down. So as it is, we've got solid wood underneath. So all I have to do now is just trim this up, and that's a pretty good fix. The other note is when it comes to anything structural like that, unless you're using very expensive screws, never use screws for framing, ever, under any circumstance. They are not a structural fastener. There's a big difference between nails and screws. Most people use screws out of convenience. You should always use nails, and most of it has to do with resistance to shearing pressure. So screws are very brittle and they will shear off very easily given the right stress. Nails are not. Now you can get their SSG screws. They're structural screws, but like I said, they are very expensive, and it's really not worth the effort. You're better off to just use nails. So we're going to nail that back up, and we're going to tack this back down, and then we're going to get back into the basement and finish up what I was talking about before. Alright, so our repair looks pretty good. Now with these joints, ooh. So I'm really only looking to deal with the problem areas because I don't want to push the underlay up. So I'm going to identify the worst spots, and then I'm going to brace it from down below and connect the sheets together. All of these joints are going to become completely irrelevant because when I put my underlay on, it's a very thick underlay, and I'm going to be half on both width-wise and in terms of length. I'm going to go quarter on. That way none of the joints match up and it'll be like brickwork. So it should be essentially a solid surface by the time it's done. Alright, so I'm back down in the basement. Now what I was doing is I went around and I found all the seams that were really not lining up, and I marked it by throwing a nail through. And basically I know how many nails are down here that I got to look for, And these are the spots where the joints really don't line up anymore. I want to get those good because that could throw off the underlayment, and we want the underlayment to nest down nice and tight against the subfloor. All right, so I've put these blocks in, and the purpose is when we head upstairs, now I locate the screws that I've pushed back up, and we can screw down the seam together, and that'll hold it well enough. Not too many to look for. I just gotta look for these heads and between the nails. Just throw a few screws on each and we're good. All right, so we're gonna head down one more time, except this time we're gonna get ready for the subfloor. So the subfloor is the first layer. So I got spots like this, and this doesn't quite reach the next joist, but I'm still gonna infill to about here. So I got this spot, that hole over there, and that hole over there, and then that one. And what I have to do is I have to add enough material that I can add extra subfloor and tie this in so it's flush, and then the next piece will span over it and it'll just have a little bit more integrity. So let's hop down and get that done. All right, so we're once again topside, and we're ready for the next step. So at this point, tedious as it's becoming, we have to clean up again. So if we're going to lay anything on top of this, we have to make sure that this floor is as spotless as we can make it with a broom, because we're laying over top of it. Now, wood is a lot more forgiving. It's not like laying your finished flooring on top. If there is, a pebble or something stuck in there, and it does happen from time to time, it's just going to crush in. It's not going to be the end of the world, but if we leave a lot of grit in there, it will be the end of the world. So we want to make sure this is tidied up, looking clean, and the next step is going to be to infill these spots that we have prepped up. So all these holes in the floor are going to be the first thing to disappear. Alright, so the bugs are really taking over. Between the mosquitoes and the June bugs, I don't know what's more irritating. Mosquito right there. I think I'm going to take off for the night, because otherwise I got to close up these windows and it gets real muggy really quick in here. So let's have a quick look at what we've done. So the floor is prepped up, good to go. We just got to do these infills. I'm not going to worry about stuff like this just because 5/8 OSB that I got is going to span over that, no problem. That's going to be super solid. Not worried about that at all. I'm mostly concerned about these larger holes like that, and longer ones like this. That should definitely be addressed just because it does also come up to a butt joint. This one here and this one, I don't know, they're a little questionable. They're large-ish, but I just do them because I can. So we're all good to go here. So the goal is, after these are all infilled and we have all the subfloor done, when we go to do the underlay, we're still dealing with the different planes. So I have 5/8 OSB, which we're going to fill in for the bathroom and the hallway, and that's going to match up beautifully to our to the underlayment in the dining room here. So because we have a seam all the way across, and I'm not removing that, what I want to do here is I want to make sure that this floor spans over top of that floor. So anywhere I'm going to have this 3/4 ply going over the subfloor, the 1/2 inch subfloor, or meeting up to the subfloor or the underlay over here, I'm going to have an additional 1/4 inch underlayment added to the 1/2 inch. That's going to build it up to 3/4, and it's going to flush it up with this floor here. And the reason for lapping over everything is because if we lap enough, and this is plenty of space right here. This is probably the smallest space that we're lapping over. That's about 6 inches or so. So that's plenty to make sure that it's essentially one floor when it's done. It's, you know, you've kind of interlocked everything and it's one floor again. So that's the idea. It just makes the whole structure a lot more solid, a lot more stable, and it takes a lot of the uneasiness out of the floor, especially when you give it all this extra build, because this is going to be a very thick and sturdy floor when it's done. And the other benefit is that for this 3/4 that was done completely wrong, it's going to eliminate all the potential issues that we get because it was done wrong. So the other thing I'm going to do when I'm laying the new floor down is I know where all the joists are. It's very easy to outline that, and that's a huge benefit. So when I go to screw down the new floor over top, I'm going to make sure that all my screws go through the new flooring system and through the old flooring system, and it ties everything right down to the joist. I'm not going to throw random screws in. I'm going to make sure everything's lined up nice, and that's going to make this a really nice and solid system when it's done. So that'll be tomorrow's task, and I hope you're along for the ride. If you are, don't forget to hit that little bell icon. It lets you know when we post a video. And, you know, like, share, and subscribe. It goes a long way to help the channel, and we really appreciate it. So until then, we'll see ya. Bye.